You may want to keep this in mind for next year, a program on how to learn how to act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly. So those are just four things that are available for you that you'll hear about during your wonderful time here at RFHall. So give a little hand for yourselves and to welcome Father Holmes.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Christian PeaceMaker Teams. And so I'm going to tell you some stories about gospel peacemaking, non-violent gospel peacemaking. A little bit about who they are. It began with the peace churches, the Mennonites. And you know, they're a church that believed that violence is never the right way, that if you want peace, you don't get there with war. They're opposites. So if you want peace, then you work for justice, and that brings about peace, not war. Well, one of their own theologians challenged them and said, you know, we're not doing enough. When you've got thousands of people out there every single day risking their lives for war, why aren't there thousands of us out there every day risking our lives for peace? And he challenged them. He said, you know, I have a vision of 100,000 people trained and ready to go into war zones, unarmed, and getting in the way. That's our model. And reduce the violence. Well, here we are, 20 years later, and there's 200 of us, not 100,000. And we're not Mennonites, we're Catholics, Baptists, but Christians of all possible denominations. But we all believe that if you want peace, you don't get there with war. War never brings peace. There's a victory where you beat the other person until they stop fighting you. That's not peace, that's not justice. I worked on a team with her in Palestine, and she's standing shoulder to shoulder with a Palestinian peacemaker. And they're both standing in front of an Israeli soldier, and they're saying to him, "Stop, you can't shoot these people!" Because behind them, there's 100 men and boys, and they've come out of their homes and they're going down to the mosque to pray. But they've been forbidden to come out of their homes. They're under curfew. The Israeli army is walking up and down the street saying, we'll shoot anybody who comes out of their door. They've been like that for 6 days. It's called collective punishment. We punished the whole city of Hebron because one Palestinian gunman shot at one Israeli soldier somewhere. So you punish everybody. So they have non-violently refused to obey that. And they're going out unarmed, walking to the mosques to pray. And the soldiers are standing there in front of them saying, we'll shoot you if you don't go back in your homes right away. And they're saying, no, you can't do that. That's the kind of work we do. That ended. They never got past the soldiers, but instead of going back to their homes to pray, they knelt down and they prayed right there, on the street. In spite of the fact that they threw 3 or 4 grenades. And these would be sound grenades meant to disperse crowds. But if you're in the middle of it, it goes off near you, you get burnt. But they didn't budge. When they finished their prayer, they stood up and went home. And that night they lifted the curfew. So it worked. It non-violently resisted the unjust law, the curfew, and it was changed. I want to say one more thing. We are a Christian peacemaker team, and the word Christian is important to us. We work with wonderful Jewish, Israeli peacemakers who are sick at heart with what their government is doing, what their army is doing in Palestine, with what happened in Gaza. And they're willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with Palestinians and internationals and say, stop the violence. We work with wonderful Palestinian peacemakers, Muslims. And we work with wonderful secular peacemakers who aren't coming out of religious motivation, but who are willing to risk their lives for their brothers and sisters to stop the violence. But we're Christian, and we take that really seriously because we take our motivation from the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus says, blessed are the peacemakers. They will be called children of God. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice. We take that to heart. Right to heart. We go to places of incredible injustice, and we try to create space so justice can flourish, so it can grow up. We get in the way of the violence and try to reduce it so that justice can flourish. And the hardest part of all is Jesus said, you know, you were taught to love your friends and hate your enemies. He said, you know, in God's kingdom, in God's dream for the way humanity should be, you will love even your enemy. We take that to heart. And so we have to reach past this gun and touch the humanity of this soldier. He's just another human being. You know, he doesn't want to be there either. He's drafted into the army. So we have to find some way to get through and touch the humanity of the person doing the violence. That's our work. And that's the work we do. This is the south end of the West Bank, which is occupied territory. Here's Hebron, where our team is. We have another team down here, a little tiny village called Atawani. There it is, small village. These are all shepherds, Palestinian shepherds. They've lived in these hills for hundreds of years. Every one of those houses is in front of a cave. They began living in caves here. And then as they sold some sheep and got some money, they built houses, and then they used the caves to keep the sheep in. Jesus was born in a cave, near here, with the sheep and the goats. You know the story. However, 20 years ago, on top of the hill, right across from them, the Israelis came in and built a little village called a settlement. And this is illegal, because an occupying army is forbidden by international law to move its own population into the occupied territory. Israel has built over 200 settlements in the West Bank. They're all illegal. Every hilltop. They've taken every hilltop. They said, well, there's no farming going on here. No, there's grazing land. That's grazing land. They took it. They just took it. And the Israeli settlers who live in this hilltop village are not good neighbors. And the reason is that they feel that God has sent them here to redeem this land for Israel. And redeem it means claim it for Israel. Cleanse it of its pollution and the pollution of the Palestinians. They see their role as pushing the Palestinians out of Atawani, out of the West Bank. And that's what they're trying to do. See this road here? If you follow it up over the hill, you come to a very small village, Tuba. It's got 5 families. Indigenous families, they go to school in Atawani. That's their school right there. And this is the Magdalena River. Our team is down here in Barranca. But if you go downriver, which flows north, to this area, this is where the gold mines are, around Santa Rosa in this area. And it's artisanal mining. The south end of the Bolivar province or state is where these mines are. They're all very small, as you can see. And they, their operations are small. But about 30,000 people depend on these mines for their livelihood. Maybe 30 villages in the area, and each village has got its own series of mines, and it's been like that for quite a long time. But here's where Canada comes in. Canada would like to put a big mine in there, a big gold mine. A mining company from Canada wants to go in and put a big open pit in. So the Colombian government, who would make a lot of money from that, sent the army, their Colombian army, into this area and told them, harass these people and get them out so that they're out of the area and we can bring in this big company. And so they went in and they assassinated Alejandro Uribe. He was the president of the Miners' Federation. And what they did was, they waited until he was alone, coming home at night in the dark. He was coming home from a meeting, a Miners' Federation meeting. And they just shot him dead. Then they stripped his clothes off, put guerrilla clothes on from the FARC, which is the Colombian guerrillas that have been fighting for 50 years against the Colombian army. They put a gun beside him, they took his picture, and then they told everybody, there was a big gunfight with the guerrillas and he got, we killed him. Everybody knew that was a lie.